Did you know Katy, Texas was once called the rice capital of the world? Or that the city was almost destroyed by the 1900 Galveston Hurricane? Or here's another one. Most people don't realize places like LaCenterra and Cinco Ranch actually technically are outside the actual city of Katy limits. If you live in Katy or thinking about moving here, or you just love local history, this video is for you because today I'm sharing some fun facts and hidden history about Katy that even a lot of locals don't know. And after living here for over 30 years, I can tell you, Katy has changed a lot, but some of the things that make it special are still here. So let's jump in. First, Katy wasn't always called Katy. Back in the late 1800s, this area was known as Cane Island because of the creek nearby. The name Katy actually came from the Missouri-Kansas-Texas Railroad, which was nicknamed the Katy. The railroad played a huge role in developing this area, and eventually the nickname stuck. So yes, an entire city was basically named after a railroad. Another thing many people don't realize is how important rice farming was to Katy. Long before master planned communities, shopping centers, and packed school pickup lines, Katy was mostly prairie land and rice fields. Rice farming basically built this area before suburban growth exploded. In fact, Katy became known as the rice capital, and the huge rice dryers you still see around town are reminders of that history. One of the most recognizable landmarks is the dryer downtown, which originally processed rice and was once considered the tallest rice dryer in the country. Today it hosts markets, events, community gatherings, which I actually love because it preserves part of Katy's story instead of tearing it down, like a lot of times we do here. Now here's a surprising piece of history. Katy was heavily impacted by the 1900 Galveston Hurricane, one of the deadliest natural disasters in U.S. history. Most of the original buildings in Katy were destroyed, which is one reason there aren't as many historic structures here as you might expect for a town this old. And speaking of history, Santa Ana reportedly traveled through what is now Katy along the old San Felipe Road route during the Texas Republic era. So, when you drive through parts of Old Katy today, you're literally driving through areas connected to Texas history, which is pretty cool. Now, let's talk about something a lot of people find confusing. Most of what people think of as Katy technically is not inside the actual city of Katy limits. Places like LaCenterra, Cinco Ranch, Ellison, Firethorn, and many other well-known communities are considered part of the greater Katy area, but they are technically outside of the Katy city boundaries. And Katy actually stretches across 3 counties: Harris County, Fort Bend County, and Waller County. That's one reason taxes, schools, utilities, and services can vary so much depending on where you live. Another thing people are surprised to learn is that a Katy mailing address does not automatically mean Katy ISD. Some Katy addresses are zoned to Lamar Consolidated or Cy-Fair ISD instead, which is something buyers definitely want to pay attention to when they're moving here. Now, let's talk about one thing basically everyone in Houston knows about: the Katy Freeway. Wow. It's actually considered one of the widest freeways in the world, depending on how you count the lanes, which honestly feels believable when you're sitting in traffic sometimes. Although with all those lanes, it should be flowing better. But longtime residents remember when Katy felt very different. There used to be more open prairie land, fewer neighborhoods, fewer restaurants, and honestly, way less traffic. People who have been here for decades have watched entire communities appear where there used to be fields and cattle and horses. And despite all the growth, there are still parts of Katy that keep that hometown feel. Downtown Katy still has local restaurants, coffee shops, antique stores, community events, and traditions like the Rice Harvest Festival that remind people where this city started. And I think that's one reason so many longtime residents still love Katy. Yes, it has grown tremendously. Yes, traffic can be frustrating. And yes, the area looks very different than it did 20 or 30 years ago. But there's still a strong sense of community here. People still care about Friday night football, local events, supporting small businesses, and staying connected. Katy somehow manages to keep pieces of its small town roots while continuing to grow into one of the most desirable areas around Houston. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to subscribe because I share weekly videos about Katy, Texas, neighborhoods, real estate, and what it's really like living here. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or relocating to Katy or the greater Houston area, feel free to reach out anytime. I am always happy to help. See you in the next video. Bye.